sitting down with Rowland Hine. And Rowland is one of the strong families in our history of Orange. So I'm going to let Rowland tell us about his start in Orange, Connecticut.
Okay. Well, I lived here all my life. Grew up on the farm on Derby Avenue where Walt Hine still farms it. My mother came from Orange, New Jersey, and married my father, of course, and one of the 4 Hine boys and one daughter all lived on the farm and then went their separate ways, I guess you would say. My ancestors came over on the John Davenport boat right after Columbus, I guess, after he landed, and they migrated down to Milford and were living in Milford for a bit, and my father, my great-great-great-grandfather walked up North Street, which is Grassy Hill, into where the big farm is now on 34, and there's 300 acres there. And he made a deal to trade land from the Indians. I guess it was some Whippowigs or one of those, and got about 300 acres of land where the farm still is today. As far as my father, he was worked in the highway department with my grandfather when they first started with no paved roads in Orange, and paved every road in Orange. I guess it's still existing today. My great-grandfather was the first selectman at that time. That was Walter S. Hine, Sr., of course. And my father, well, he was 25 years as the first selectman, my grandfather, and my father became selectman a few years later, and he was selectman, I think, for 17 or so years. And then I became one of the selectmen for 13 years in town, in Orange also. And I worked as a help in the highway department with my trucks and became active in the highway department as far as when Bill Knight was in selectman. I was acting selectman after my father kind of retired for 5 or 6 years. They changed, then after that they changed the charter, and I couldn't hold the superintendent highway job because I couldn't have any other business. And then I had 2 school buses which I owned and operated, paving and excavating, and so I got out of the highway department and continued my own business as plowing snow for the state highway for 30-some years, and the town, and private driveways, and did a lot of pool water hauling, hauled pool water on my trucks all over Connecticut. Then I became highway superintendent after Tommy Tander left, and was that position for 11 years until Mr. Souza came in and changed it all, and I kind of retired after that from the highway and became employees of 2 environmental companies, Absolute Tank and Enviro Shield, which is taking out fuel tanks and install them, and I was their estimator, and I worked there until I was, maybe 70, I don't know, 75 or so. What was it, like 3 years ago I just retired, so it was more than that. So after that I just have been taking it easy here with my good wife Jean, taking care of me, and that's about it for what I know. That's good or whatever.
Rowland, can I ask you,
Sure.
in the beginning about the roads in town? Because Bob Heiser was telling us about
Yes.
how some of the roads were actually the old carriage roads, and it just got covered over with asphalt.
Right,
And
that's
that's
correct.
why some of them were kind of crowned and narrow.
Yes.
When you started taking over, how did you?
Well, my father had improved those from the early 1920s. They were all gravelly and dirt roads, and he did oil and stone, many of them, and got the roads surfaces hard. But when I took over, it was many years after that, and the roads were not the greatest condition, but they were all paved in town in that time.
Okay, all right. And when you're working with the highway department way back, and even with the, just the development of the town, you saw a lot of growth, over the years.
Oh,
sure.
tremendous.
Do you remember one that was just, you know, an area of town that was just
Oh,
awesome?
oh, they developed in the early 50s. Your father and Ronnie Hine and all that bunch were in the construction business in the early 50s, I guess it probably was. And there are many, many roads like Hilltop and Carriage Drive off of Orange Center, and many all around town were all new developments that started in that era.
Very busy. Good. And how about serving for the town? You were a selectman, but I'm sure you had some other jobs that you did?
Yes, I didn't even get into the Bicentennial. I was in '72, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was the chairman, and Dick Chafee and I were co-chairmen of the parade. And I organized all the old cars to have people ride in, got all the bands together, and got the groups of high school and professionals to play, and we all organized it, and Dick kind of managed the starting of it and completed the whole operation of it. Dick was a big help in that, and we had a lot going on at that Bicentennial at that time. It was a very enjoyable time. I kept on many committees. I was on the building of the pool at High Plains School, chairman of that one time back in Mr. Tui's era, I believe. I was in a dozen different things anyway.
Exactly. Were in the fire department?
Oh yes, I forgot all about that. You're right, I was in the fire department for 34 years as active member. Chased many fires, and bad ones and good ones. I was chairman of the carnival for 8 years, and I was very active in the fire department until I retired, and am still retired active, they call it now, which I still take part in the celebrations occasionally.
Excellent. Good. Any fond memories or crazy stories that you can remember?
No, not off the top of my head.
Well, that's great. Well, you did. You gave us a lot of information.
Okay.
That's good. Good. So,
All right.
I'm immoralized now. Thanks, Rolly.
Okay.
That was nice.
Quite welcome.
Good.
Glad to do it.
Was it painless?
No, it's fine.
Good. Call Gloria.
Some good stories about him and Bessie and Walt Hine.
Oh.
Raising hell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you have any of those stories, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Hine was telling about putting a carriage on his father put the carriage on top of the package lunch.
That's right. Yeah, my father's involved that also. Yeah, I do have one. Is it still on?
Yeah.
Okay. I still have one about our old bus driver, Walt Bisputa, and Walt Hine and I were taken to school, which was in Hill House in New Haven at that time, by Chris Winkle, Sr., way back. And his bus, of course, was kept on Derby Milford Road. And one middle of the night or after 4-H meeting, the three of us went down and rolled a big rock in front of the bus so he couldn't get out. And he wasn't too happy over that, but he had to move it to get the bus to school.
And so did he ever find out?
Yeah, he knew. He told Chief Peterson, and he come up and chewed us out. Yep.
Pumpkins.
Pumpkins. Pumpkins in the bus? Did you do
That wasn't that Benny Foyer? I think it was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, filled Ray Buckles' bus full of pumpkins.
Good, clean fun.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Okay.
Ernie. Oh my goodness. Well, sounds like you all got together and have a good time.
We did. We had, of course, I was in 4-H too. We were very active in that, and my two boys were in the 4-H float when they were, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, and Wendy was like 10, and riding in my old antique car, by the way, at the parade.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I hope your car's ready for this parade.
Well, I sold that one, but I have another.
Well, you have
I do have another one.
Good, good. Yeah, so good. All right, good. Anything else you can think about? No? That's good? Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, good enough.
Do you know the parade, Paddle Sutherland is having a horrible time getting bands.
Oh, really, this
You're
year?
not practicing right now, right?
They're not practicing.
Oh, that's right, because of the
COVID.
'cause of COVID,
has
yeah.
broken up the independent
Oh,
bands
boy, that's probably
where, you
true.
know,
Yeah.
Fife and drum bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they haven't been practicing for 2 years.
Right, you're right.
And it's just, we may have someone with the boombox going down there.
I know Chafee and I both got a lot of the high school bands
Right.
together, and of course the Hurricanes, and I was a Shriner, or I am a Shriner still, and they had their 2 or 3 bands that also played in the parade.
Yeah, it's really become an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any involvement in the country, in the starting of the country fair?
Oh yeah. Oh
Did we
yes.
talk about that at all?
No, but we can do that,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe we'll talk
So,
about that, yeah.
You wanna do the beginning and how they got the country fair started, the Bicentennial?
Oh yeah. Well, we had a fair way before that.
Right, all right, we'll talk about that.
Well, the fair, they were all 4-H kids.
Mm-hmm.
Sioux Treat, Vespuccia, and Walt Hine. Kind of got it going, and we had a 4-H fair on the green for quite a few years. And then it developed into bigger, and it went down to High Plains where it's been ever since. But yeah, I was always in the organization of that, and chairman of it for 2 years. Actually, Sioux Treat and I were, and she was the secretary, and I were involved in running the 2 years of the fair. We went to North Haven 1 year, but ended up back to Orange. So we've continued it on from there.
Excellent. What did you have at the fair at that time?
Well, I had beef steers, steer rather, baby beef. And I also had, way back, I had a pony. I rode that in a parade or fair or whatever it was. And I organized and started the doodlebug pulling. And
What year, yeah?
there's a picture, oh, it's in the other room. When I was like 12, 13 years old, we started that, and I pulled it to Madison Fair, which they had doodlebugs way before we did.
I think you better explain what a doodlebug is, because some people don't.
Okay, it's an old car or old truck which they take the old transmission and rear end out and put in big rear ends and transmissions, and 2 transmissions, and then they pull big blocks like the horses pull at the fair, the cement concrete blocks. And that is sort of what it started at, is kind of a free-for-all, but then we got into rules, and now it has to be so long and weigh so much, so they can all compete equally.
That's great. I didn't realize that it had started so much more
Yeah,
earlier.
I started it way back when I took part in the Madison, because that's where I found out about it and picked it up, and then started the Orange one.
Very good.
Yeah.
It definitely has taken off.
Yeah, yeah, it's become quite a profession.
Why did the fair end at that time?
Well, we went to North Haven Fair grounds because we got too big for the green, I believe. And then we came back after that, after we kind of, I don't know if it went on for a year or 2 without a fair. I'm not sure about that, but
Yeah,
then
you
it's,
restarted it instead of.
yeah, right, and it got going again, yes. Yeah, Vespuccia, Walt Hine, and I kind of got it going. And Greg Mulhern and Bill Sperry and a few of those.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was the carnival.
Oh yeah, well I ran the carnival for quite a few years. Yeah, that was a big thing.
That is great. I think that fair is something that has really been
Yeah,
the town now.
it's quite a nice fair.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's terrific.
Yeah, we had a chance to interview Walt Vespuccia,
Yeah,
and he had a lot of things to say about
yes,
starting at the country fair.
he was pretty much the start of it. They got it off the ground. Yes, he did a great job of it, and has carried on until Kevin Monk is still running it.
Yeah.
But so there was a lot of collaboration between you and Walt.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much. We all were very good friends from before high school on even. Yep.
I like the way that Walt said that he started the fair and he had no rules.
No, not
First
much.
one. So all of you reinventing it was
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, got it going again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.